and Council. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you'll rise for the opening prayer by Councilman Santos.
Thank you, everyone. May everyone bow your heads. Oh God. Oh God, by whom the meek are guided in judgment, and light rises up in darkness for the godly. Grant us, in all our doubts and uncertainties, the grace to ask what you would have us do, that the spirit of wisdom may save us from all false choices, and that in your light we may see light, and in your straight path may not stumble, through Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, as a reminder to council, we are going to have an executive session tonight after our meeting. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, there are none.
Okay, each of you have received our minutes from our last meeting. If there are no changes or questions, I'll accept the motion to receive the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, it's unanimous. Do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, under new business number 1, I'll have Director of Economic Development, Mrs. Tricia Newcomer, come up and walk us through.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening you have before you a recommendation from the Economic Development Committee regarding a request from Mr. Seaford Shaw, who is the owner of Sunrise Motel at 22512 Sussex Highway, which is Sussex County Tax Map and Parcel 331-3.00-180.00, in a request to participate in a cost share for 1,100 feet of water main installation. To refamiliarize yourself with the project, this land was annexed into the city back in October 2021, and they are proposing to put an additional 2-story brick building to the west side of the property, which would provide an additional 22 guest rooms. The City Council did award a waiver on July 28th of 2020 on the existing 22 units when they annexed in, and that waiver was valued at $41,643.48. The Economic Development Committee met on the 29th of April and heard the request from Mr. Shaw. He was requesting that the city enter into a 60-40% cost share, meaning the city would take on 60% of the cost and the developer would assume the other 40%. He's received 3 bids, and he has contracted with Hopkins Construction to do that work in the amount of $162,655. So at their proposed request, it would have been the city accepting $97,593 worth of the responsibility. After much discussion and comparisons to some previous incentives that the City Council has approved, the Economic Development Committee felt that they wanted to somewhat stay in line with some of the previous incentives and do more of a 50-50 cost share. And so that is $81,327 on both the city and the developer, to total that $162,000. The incentive is also such that this work needs to be completed within 24 months of the date of council's approval. So if approved tonight, that starts his clock ticking for that 24 months. And these are reimbursed funds. So they'll do the project, and when we have successful completion of the project and the city is satisfied with the work, we'll then reimburse the $81,000. And then just to kind of acclimate you, the city's existing water main is just north of the property in the southbound lane up by the paramedics building. So that 1,100 feet would be coming from there to his property. He had originally hoped that the Lakeshore Motors project would be at a further point, which he would have then tied on from that project, but he would like to move his along faster. So.
All right, are there any questions in regards to the cost share of the water main? Yes, sir. Councilman McCoy.
Just for clarification,
yeah.
The memorandum itself, as you said, it states 60-40 cost sharing.
Yes.
The motion itself says 50-50.
Yes, and if you, the memo actually says in the end, that was the original request, was a 60/40, but
Okay.
the committee's recommendation was to go with a 50/50
Go to 50/50,
cost share.
okay.
Yep,
Thank
you
you.
are correct.
Other questions from council? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of Economic Development Committee regarding a request from Mr. Sapan Shah, owner of the Sunrise Motel located at 22512 Sussex Highway, Sussex County Tax Map Parcel Number 331-3.00-180.00, to participate in the cost share for the installation of 1,100 feet of water main and to provide a 50/50 cost sharing incentive to the owner in the amount of $81,327, with the condition that the project be completed within 24 months from council approval, or this incentive would sunset as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
And Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Next, we'll call up the Police Chief and Director of Public Works to share a pilot program.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good
City
evening.
Manager.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Going to keep it short. Burley's going to do it. No,
It'd be real short.
it would. So as everyone knows, we've had a lot of conversations over the last several years for traffic, speed enforcement, crashes, and we've been looking for some alternative measures for traffic calming. So Burley, with the approval of the city manager, has purchased 5 sets of speed bumps, and our proposal tonight is to place them to try to divide up nylon into thirds. We were looking at placing the first set on both sides of the roadway in the area between West Poplar Street and Rush Street, in the area of a wood lines, and try to place them somewhere near a property line so it's not giving the burden onto any one particular house, and to try to keep folks also from driving around the speed bumps. And the next location would be West Spruce Street, between West Spruce Street and West Locust Street. That pretty well separates it into about thirds. And the second location is on Magnolia. Since I've been here, there's been ongoing speeding complaints. We've done enforcement in all of these areas, but we're getting them all throughout the city, and we're looking once again to try to be able to focus in one area where we deploy these other types of measures. Magnolia, we would place it between Rose Tree and Cross Gate. Once again, kind of midway between that roadway. And we're hopeful that this would slow people down. And of course, before we deploy these, we would do a social media posting, do a news release through the media, maybe Seaford Star, and once again, try to get compliance through education, voluntary compliance, and then move into enforcement. Unless the speed is so egregious, then we would obviously cite.
If this were to get approved tonight, when would you anticipate these would be installed?
I do have them in stock. I did order the speed bumps just this week, so I should have them sometime next week. This being cleanup week and the residual cleanup week next week. I'm gonna say 2 weeks.
Okay.
Guesstimate. But I do want to allow enough time to do a social media push.
Right.
To get it out there. So.
Okay.
As well as signage. We believe we need to put signage out there, speed bump ahead, or something to draw their attention in conjunction with the social media push and news release.
Is this something that we let the property owners know that are involved in front of it?
We've not discussed it, I haven't anyway, with the community.
I mean, I understand the goal of speed bumps, but I also know the annoying side of speed bumps.
So that's correct. No matter where you put it, people are probably not going to be thrilled with it. And, always have unintended consequences.
Right.
People could start using other streets as well. And the goal will be when we deploy people is to try to put the presence there with the speed bumps at first. And at the same time, hopefully, we can deploy some resources in some surrounding streets so that if they try to bypass that, then we can obviously do enforcement there as well.
All right, questions from council.
I got one, sir.
Councilman Holland.
Hey, Chief, how did the decision come about? Were there complaints or you made that decision? And, I want to know if the speed bumps are already removable, if we need to take them up?
Yes, sir.
like for snow removal?
So a couple of things. I'll start with the last one first. That's the
All right.
easiest. So they are portable. So the idea would be to put them down until what, fall,
Yeah, I'm thinking November, beginning of November.
November? Because of snow removal and things of that nature. And to try to track the complaints and track to see if people are compliant, and see if we pick up other issues on other streets, and see if that fixes the problem. There may even be a discussion later on down the road. Maybe we need to put stop signs, additional stop signs. But once again, everything has an unintended consequence. Then you're going to have potentially people having crashes. Right now it's speeding down a throughway. You start putting stop signs and people driving and running stop signs, you could have crashes or complaints for people running stop signs.
So was it residents in the area complaining?
Oh, we've
or
had
just-
ongoing complaints for
Okay.
speeding down Nylon. It's like a drag strip because it's so long and it's uninterrupted. I think even the city manager has witnessed violations down there in the recent past. And we've been down there and citing folks. Matter of fact, one of the persons that have been complaining quite a bit, unfortunately, a relative just got cited. And, these are the things that typically happen when we start doing enforcement.
Right.
We'd rather get compliance and not have to issue the citations.
All right, other questions from council? If there's not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Henderson, make a motion to approve the placement of temporary speed bumps on Nylon Boulevard and Magnolia Drive as a pilot program to reduce speeding in selected areas of the city as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
And Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you so much. We will be pushing this out to the public so they're aware, and then police will be monitoring, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the bids on the waste and recycling collection, and that's Ms. Hickey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Up on the screen, you'll see that we received 3 bids for the waste and recycling services for the city of Seaford. My recommendation is to continue our service with Republic Services. There have been minor complaints, but overall, they've provided a decent service, and they were the low bidder between GFL and Blue Hen Disposal. Blue Hen did say they did make a mistake on their bid. Clearly, it is not, it's bid per annual, but even if you broke that down, it was still it was still more expensive
Okay.
than either one.
Okay, any questions about the waste and recycling collection service bid? If not, I'll accept the motion.
I have a
Right,
question.
Councilman Henderson?
Could you elaborate on the type of complaints that you had with the vendor?
There was one complaint that the dumpsters by the firehouse, they were in the sidewalk area, and I requested them to be moved, and the fire department had to move a couple things. It took a couple phone calls, but they have been moved out of the way and have been in the right place ever since. And then one was just about a pickup in a park,
Okay.
but very minor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to award the bid for waste and recycling collection service to the low bidder, Republic Service, in the year 1 monthly amount of $1,901.94 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. Any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
And Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. And I guess you'll walk us through Nutter Park?
Yes. So unfortunately, we did not receive any bids for Nutter Park, the playground equipment, but we do plan on rebidding this. There was an addendum sent out, so I plan on making those changes to the current bid and then resubmitting that in hopes that we will get a few vendors.
Okay, you'll bring us back.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll call up the Director of Public Works to go through the bids for the mainline sewer camera.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
So we received 3 bids for our mainline
mainline sewer camera that we budgeted $105,000 for over the course of like 3 years. So this was the year to purchase it. We put it out to bid. I demoed a couple models. I wrote the bid, the specifications. We went out to bid. We received 3 bids. The low bidder came in, was not one model that I demoed, but also he noted a few things that he did not meet on the specifications. So then when I dove into the specifications a little more, I found a few discrepancies or, that were not part of his bid. We bid a camera that will do a 6-inch to a 36-inch line. So for this low bidder to do that, he needs to supply 2 tractors, 2 cameras, so it's basically 2 different systems. To me, that's more to maintain, more cost, more to maintain, more to break, more to deal with in the future. So I didn't like that part of it. The second bidder, which is the one I'm recommending, is just 1 unit, 1 camera, 1 unit, 1 tractor. Excuse me. Also, it doesn't have I specified a rear-facing camera. The low bidder did not have a rear-facing camera. It seems like it's, something that we don't really need, but it is. It's a good feature to have when you're bringing it back in. You can see if something happens, if you're going to run over something, run over the cable, run over the, which can cause problems. We've actually did that with our old camera quite a few times. It doesn't have a steerable tractor in the 6-inch model, which we required. And it doesn't have a lens wiper, which is a pretty cool feature. It's actually, so when you're in these environments, as you can imagine, if your lens gets a little bit of, technical term is gunk on it. Yep, yep. So it actually, you rotate the camera 180 degrees, and it has a wiper, kind of like a windshield wiper, and it wipes the lens. So then you can come back around and you can see it again. So and back in the day, we'd have to pull it back out, clean it with a rag, put it back in there. So it's a pretty cool feature.
Comes with washer fluid?
Yeah, that's what I need. Like
How about
like a expensive car, huh?
no.
So anyway, the low bidder did not have that feature. He did state that the lens is made out of quartz and it's waterproof, but that's a little bit different material we're dealing with down there than, say, clean water. So anyway, after reviewing the specifications, I felt like for the best interest of the city moving forward, that I would like to recommend the second bidder for the additional cost.
Okay, are there any questions in regard to the mainline sewer camera bid? Councilman McCoy.
Just one question, Burley, it's from my own knowledge, really. The first bidder, you said that they were mentioning 2 cameras, 2 units, and what have you. The second one, 1 unit, 1 camera. What is more common? Is the one?
Yeah, so I'll just say out of the 3 bids that we received, the 2 bids was 1 tractor.
Okay.
The low bidder had 2 tractors.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to award the bid for the mainline sewer camera to MJ Friedel and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $77,915 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Any questions on the motion? Now we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman Santos.
Aye.
And Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
It's unanimous. I feel like this is another one of those projects we've been talking about for a long time,
Yep.
upgrading, and it's great to see it come through. I know that saves you a lot of
Yeah.
time. All right, and finally, on our agenda tonight is the Serotimus Park parking lot paving.
Yep, sure. So we received money funding from both Short and Richardson to repave Seroptimus Park. So we received 2 bids, one from Delmarva Paving and one from George and Lynch. As you can see, Delmarva Paving was the low bidder, so I recommend awarding it to Delmarva Paving. We've worked with them plenty of times in the past, and they do great work.
Yep. Okay, any questions on the parking lot paving bid? Yes, sir.
Hey, brother, what area are you going to pave?
Basically, the existing parking lot.
Oh,
We're
okay.
going to make it a
So,
little
all right,
bit bigger, but it's not getting into the grassy area where everybody,
okay.
pulls into. We've talked about maybe putting a fence along the way so people can't pull in there anymore, but we haven't got real far with that.
All right.
Any other questions? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to award the bid for Optimus Park parking lot paving to the low bidder, Delmarva Paving, in the amount of $53,477.50 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Santos. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
And Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
All right, thank
Thank you very much.
Vice
All
President.
right, next I'll call up, under old business, I'll call up our city solicitor to go through our second reading of the Morals and Conduct, Chapter 8, which we call the Dignity Ordinance.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good
Yeah.
evening, members of
Good
council
evening.
and Mr. City Manager. As you may recall from a couple weeks ago during the first reading, this fetal remains ordinance or dignity ordinance is in litigation at the moment. And like all pieces of litigation, we are encouraged to narrow the issues as much as we can and present only the dispute to the court that we can't reach an agreement on. The litigation involves an alleged conflict between certain provisions of the ordinance and state law. So what we've tried to do is make an effort to eliminate, to the extent we can, minor discrepancies that we can agree on. So there are three that were presented a couple weeks ago, and that I'll go over again now. Number one is section 8.9.13, the time frame for remaining or staying at an ambulatory surgical treatment center. The previous provision had a limit of 24 hours. This proposed amendment uses language from the state statute and provides for a stay until the patient meets the criteria for discharge, and that is the language from the state statute. The next one is section 8.9.15, requirements for operators of crematories. The original provision provided multiple methods for the return of cremated fetal remains to the responsible person. Again, using the language from the Delaware Administrative Code, the amendment would provide just one way, which is to return the cremated fetal remains to the responsible party in a secured container. And then the third is 8.9.16, required reporting of abortions. The prior provision had reporting within 10 days to the Office of Vital Statistics, again utilizing language and provisions from state law. The new amendment has a time frame of 30 days and reporting to the Department of Health and Social Services. So those are the three amendments. Again, it's a matter of narrowing the issues that are in litigation. I would consider these to be housekeeping matters. Because it's in litigation, I would be happy to entertain any questions or comments or discuss any part of the litigation with you, but we would need to do that in executive session.
Right, so just to be clear on these three changes, these are changes that we're in agreement with the state to bring these forward. These are not disputed, and this just cleans up the language.
Right, and addresses the specific provisions of the state
Okay.
law.
Any questions from the council? Councilman Henderson.
Trying to wrap my head around some of the, like in 8.9.13, the section that's stricken says that it's consistent with 16 Delaware Admin C 3335-3.8A, but it's stricken.
You'll notice the stricken part is in blue.
Yeah.
That was not part of the original proposed language.
Okay.
That was going to be part of the amendment, but we might have taken a step too far by saying, hey, this will confirm, we all
Okay.
agree that this is consistent with state law.
Because
So
that confused me, that you're striking something that says it's consistent with that law.
that was going to be part of the amendment,
Okay.
and then we took it out of the amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, if there are no questions, then I will accept a motion.
Councilman Holland, I make the motion to approve the amendments to Chapter 8, Morals and Conduct. Excuse me, wrong one.
No, you're
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 Okay,
correct.
good, all right. Morals and Conduct of the City Municipal Code, Article 9, an ordinance to establish a process for the disposition of fetal remains as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? That was Councilman McCoy. Okay, if not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
And Councilman Santos.
No.
Okay. So it's 3-1. This is in litigation, and the judge will hear this Thursday of this week. So thank you again for your courage to move forward on this. Appreciate it. Okay, City Manager, any reminder of meetings?
I have none on the
Okay.
agenda, sir.
All right, we'll go to committee reports. Start off with administration and IT. Councilman Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city had several meetings this past couple weeks. They had they attended the fiscal year 2023 budget meeting last week. They attended several bid openings and an RFP opening. They met with they had a meeting with the Riverfest Committee, and for the IT report, they've been working with the VMware to optimize the carbon black for users. They've completed the overhaul and reconfiguration for the firewall rework and integration. They've assisted the state of Delaware with firewall and switch to the police department. They've worked with the Axon Tech to fix the failover issue with the Axon interview room system at the police department. They resolved networking issues with the primary recording server at the police department. They've ordered cameras for the downtown camera project. For the administration report, they've all their other business is routine.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to police and fire. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have complete reports from Chief Wilson of the Volunteer Fire Department and Chief Kraft from the Police Department. I'll read some highlights. Under fire statistics, year to date, there's 345 calls for an average of 1.4 per day. This month of May, we've got 29 calls already for an average of 3.2 per day. It's a very busy month. EMS statistics, we have a total of 1,439 calls per day for an average of 6.09. And month to date, there were 98 calls for an average of 10.08, another above average month so far. And it's fairly early in the month. The total department responses is 1,784 for average of 7.5 per day. Other fire statistics, we had I'm going to skip that. That's those are year-to-date numbers. I want to try to keep you current. Hours in service for April totals were 57.36 and 163.6 for the EMS department. Significant incidents, April 29th, there was a motor vehicle crash with entrapment on Herring Run Road and Ross Station Road, which was a priority 1 patient flown to Christiana after extrication. And then on May 4th, with an assist from Station 72, there was a motor vehicle crash with entrapment on Atlanta Road and Federalsburg Highway, where 1 patient was extricated. Under apparatus, Tower 87 is back in service. For an extended period of time, it was out of service, and it took extensive repairs to get it back into service. So we welcome it back to service. My assumption is that the tower from Bethany Beach was returned, but I can't really confirm that since there's no need to have 2 of them here. Under training, May 4th, there was a search rope training at Station 87. And the next training will be the 18th at the burn building up at the Delaware State Fire School, or over in Georgetown. And we have 4 firefighters who are currently attending advanced fire training at the Fire Department Training Network in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll move on to police, where you can see the left-hand column with 2022 year-to-date with a total complaint load of 3,159 with the distribution of the different types of complaints below it. Under criminal, there were, in the period, there were 188 total crimes, and you'll see the distribution there. 8 felonies, the rest were misdemeanors, violations in civil, and 123 other, with a 88% clearance rate, which continues to remain pretty above average. You'll see the 2 crime view charts showing time of day, days and time of day of the violations. Under drug complaints, there were 15 drug crimes, no overdoses during this period, and there's one pending active investigation. Under traffic, the department continues to increase their enforcement. So there were 220 contacts, resulting in 89 citations and 12 warnings, 2 DUIs. There were 31 crashes with 1 injury accident, no fatals, and no pedestrian accidents at this time, but there was a bicycle accident and a motorcycle accident. And you'll see the distribution in the crime view chart, the days of the week and the time of day that that this occurred. Under significant events, we'll say there was a significant event at Nutter Park. I'll draw your attention to May 3rd, pardon me, where the department responded to a large disorderly crowd, approximately 200 people on Collins Avenue in Nutter Park. Subjects were standing in the roadway. They left trash on the road and inside the park and had conducted burnouts prior to the police arrival. The area was being cleared with the assistance of Delaware State Police and their K-9 unit. However, the fleeing subjects arrived at the Royal Farms and continued the same behavior, causing additional agencies to assist to disperse the crowd. So it's springtime, it's getting warmer. You may recall that this has kind of occurred, and the chief has come out with a plan to try to address it, and we're trying to do something about it, not just let it go on, because the park was actually closed. It was after dark, and you just can't have a massive crowd in a closed facility disrupting the neighborhood. So we'll continue to address that in this area of town and other areas of town as well. You'll see some administrative activities, some events that occurred. There's lots of training, and there's lots of training going on. There's four officers are currently involved with the electric motorcycle course, and well, that's concluded, I think. So you should. There were some minor repairs that need to be done to the motorcycle. I guess they were running them rough during their training and dinged them up a little bit, but they'll be back on the street and the guys are ready to go. They're really eager to get going. So that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Code, Parks and Rec, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We start off with Parks and Recs. They're gearing up for the spring. They have prep softball and soccer fields for spring sports. And we have some slides. I'm going to show you they have organized and coordinated 35 to 40 students from Delmarva Christian High School at the sports complex to mulch around new trees, cut out overgrown bushes, assist with moving the stakes in the horseshoe pits, picking up trash, raking, and evening out the safety mulch in the jay's nest. And I wish this could be ongoing to help Katie out. You've done a good job. It's greatly appreciated. And they coordinated youth and soccer pictures and organized and distributed forms for coaches. And they had created flyers for the summer clinics and distributed at youth soccer clinics for youth pickleball, tennis, and field hockey. And they also assisted with Seaford Tomorrow yard sale at on April the 30th. And they met with Seaford NJROTC leaders to coordinate volunteers for Riverfest. And they held a monthly committee meeting on 5/5. And all the work is routine, and that concludes the report for Parks and Recs. We'll switch over to code. Rental license late fees had been assigned to delinquent invoices. Code department will be assisting with cleanup during cleanup week. And East Park Business Center has finished a new building, and they are waiting for site contractor to come back and finish road work. And building pads are also being installed. And the rest of the work is routine for code department, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Finally, electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hit a few highlights here real quick. Since the last report, the crew dropped the fiber loops for Gary. Nick Moore worked with Gary on a SCADA system. Nick Smart went to DMEC for the Navajo Nation planning meeting. Hoping to have Mr. Smart come through post his trip and give us a little report on how it goes. They lowered a fiber box for Gary so he could reach it. In regard to our director, had a standardized director's meeting, council liaison meeting. Also had a contractor in the Western Sussex Business Center, started the directional drilling, and got the truck serviced. Over the next few weeks, we're going to continue working in Martin Farms. They're going to work in the Bel Air multifamily, and they're going to work on the primary service to the residents at River Place Building 3. And that has been my report.
Okay, thank you very much. I do want to say thank you to all of you that have gone out to the opening events for the season, Nanticoke Little League, National Day of Prayer, the blessing of the fleet at the Nanticoke Yacht Club, so appreciate you all being in attendance. With that, I'll accept a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
A motion from Councilman McCoy, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.